Hi everyone. Okay, so
Hi guys.
everyone's here, right?
We're
Yeah,
all here.
everyone's here. We can actually start now. So,
Okay.
good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. Did Vasanth just disappear?
I think Vasanth disappeared. Yes.
Okay, so until Vasanth gets back from wherever he disappeared to, thank you all so much for coming and joining us on a Friday evening. I know everyone does not want to work on a Friday evening, so thank you again. Before we start and I hand it over to Shaminzi, I just want to mention our sponsor for this webinar, that is Akbar Ice Teas, and we have a small commercial to play right before we get started.
On a sunny day, our farmers planted a narang seed. The seed grew into a tree bearing narang fruit. Now introducing Akbar Green Tea Narang Iced Tea.
Right, so that was our sponsor, Akbar Ice, and with that being said, I will just hand over the controls to Shamindri. She's going to be your moderator today. She's our assistant marketing manager at Chokolaate and also a very avid geek, as you can tell from her background, and a huge movie fan. So, Shamindri, you can go ahead.
So hi everyone. So a big thank you to all our awesome panelists for being here with us today, and thanks to everyone who's joined us for this panel. I don't want to be biased, but I'm very excited for this one in particular because it is movies. So this one is going to be all about entertainment in time of crisis, because right now is the time when we really do need entertainment and movies. So today we are very lucky to have with us a really amazing panel of people from all sides of the film industry. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce them to you. So first of all, we have Daniela Nobel. She is from the film distribution side. So Daniela co-founded Skyline Entertainment 5 years ago with her local partner Tushan Rangana, and she has been in film distribution in the South Asian region for 10 years plus. Skyline currently distributes for Disney, Sony, and Warner Brothers, which include some of the world's biggest franchises. As a company, their ultimate goal is to continue to create movie experiences with creative marketing incentives, both for Sri Lanka and its moviegoers. So thank you, Daniela, for being here, all the way from
Thank
Greece
you for having me
in the heat.
in the heat.
Okay, next up we have Mr. Naveed Cader from Scope Cinemas. He is the executive chairman of Scope Cinemas, who has acquired his BSc in Management Economics from the University of Essex. He is also a co-founder and deputy chairman of Food Studio. He also sits in boards of companies such as Liberty Land, Liberty Cinemas, Sign Digital, and Bankyard Hostels. Mr. Carter has been at the forefront of cinema digitalization with great ambitions to improve cinematic experiences in Sri Lanka by bringing an international standard experience to local moviegoers. So thank you, Mr. Carter. Uh, Next up, we have Mr. Chris Burgess, who has worked in the international film industry for 20 years as an assistant director and on-set stills photographer. Some of the many projects he has been a part of include Gladiator, Batman Begins, Harry Potter, Force Awakens, and Last Jedi, as well as TV productions such as Band of Brothers and the recently released Brave New World. Chris was also the on-set stills photographer on Good Karma Hospital, which was actually shot right here on our own beautiful island of Sri Lanka. Chris also writes and is working on producing and directing his own short film projects. So thank you for being with us, Chris.
Welcome. Pleasure.
And last but not least, we have someone who is no stranger to Chokolaate, our very own Vasanth Kahandawela from the Geek Club of Sri Lanka. So Vasanth is going to be giving us the fans' POV. Vasanth is the co-organizer of Lanka Con and the administrator of the Geek Club of Sri Lanka, or as I like to call him, the Nick Fury of the Geek Club of Sri Lanka. He hates it when I say that, but yes. So Vasanth loves his movies. He's currently raising 6 cats. He's an avid car buff, a dreamer, and a gamer, and all in all, total geek. So, thanks, Vasanth.
Aren't we all
Did
geek?
he even? Okay. Vasanth came back, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
He is very
Okay. So let's get started. So I'm just going to go in a random order. Okay, so let's start with Daniela. Okay. Daniela. Okay. The first question is, how do you think the entertainment sector can actually recover from the hit that it took from COVID-19?
Well, at this point, I think what's really important is that we watch around the world what's going to happen with this vaccine and when it's going to come out. I think before that, we are going to see some guidelines in place as major markets around the world start to open with social distancing, maybe having cinemas 50% occupancy, which at the end of the day is good to get the consumers back out there, but it's also not really feasible at 50%. So I think until we have a viable vaccine that can be introduced worldwide, you're going to see the industry take. It's going to be examined, reassessed as the months go by, and we'll just have to wait it out for now.
So
patiently, I might add. We have to wait it out patiently. Don't forget about the movies.
Definitely not patient. Okay. Following that, Naveed.
Yeah.
So Naveed, what can you tell me about how cinemas are recovering from the pandemic? Like the measures that y'all are taking now and the plans for future of entertainment post-pandemic.
Okay, so just to, I think I'll start with what Daniela said. I'd like to start with saying content is king in terms of revenue, no matter what. We can build cinemas in any way we want, but at the end of the day, we need great content, which is provided by companies like Skyline and Liberty and things like that. The studios rather as well. In terms of cinema, we've taken all the precautions in the sense we followed all the guidelines. I think every country has done that in terms of cinema. We worked with the health authorities. They've given us minimum standards. But I know certain companies, I don't want to mention names, we have, but there are other players too, who have gone above and beyond just the basic guidelines where we sanitize every screen after every show. We've got certain technologies. We've invested in those technologies to make sure that every consumer who comes into our cinemas is secure. I mean, that's the best we can do. In terms of recovery post-COVID, as Daniela also said, we have to be patient because I don't think this pandemic is going to be there forever. Every pandemic comes and goes. I've seen articles that we're closer to a vaccine and things like that, which we're all hoping for to be fast-tracked, but has also to be safe. So I think cinema will go back to normal. It's a how can you say, it's an industry that never dies. It always gets through. And I believe that it'll come back. I mean, we've seen even with the lack of content, it's nice to see consumers, cinema goers, even in Sri Lanka, constantly calling us, asking us when the next release is coming. So there is a lot of interest in still coming back to cinema. So we're thankful to guys like you, fans, and moviegoers who generally love the cinematic experience. And I think as time goes, it'll get back to normal, but we've taken all the precautions that we have to take at this point of time.
Okay.
I hope that answers your.
It does. Thank you. Okay. So next up, Chris. Chris, can you share some insight as to how the international film industry is currently dealing with the current situation?
It's difficult for me to make a sort of in-depth analysis because I'm actually here in Sri Lanka, and I have been since December. So I've been sort of out of touch. But I know productions that were just about to go, they were gearing up. Some were actually filming that just basically got stopped dead in their tracks. So how they're coping, but they're putting in guidelines. They're, you know, all the unions, BEC2 and PACT and all the producers alliances, and working with all together, trying to come up with the guidelines to be able to start filming again. It's going to be a huge change. It's going to change schedules, which were already quite difficult. You know, when you come to multi-million-dollar movies, you know, having to schedule stuff on a even though it's a lot of money, you're still up against it all the time. So this is just another added extra for all departments to have to consider and think about. It's also an increase on budgets, or certain budgets have to be taken away from somewhere and put to COVID. You know, they're putting in, there's a new position, like a COVID supervisor. I think that's coming about. So there will be people registered, coming in every day, monitoring. You know, there's a lot of guidelines that have to be put in place. Obviously, I don't know again about insurance, whether insurance will underwrite. I have to personally look into more of that, just because I don't think insurance will cover if a production gets shut down because of COVID. So it's trying and very challenging time. So I don't, that's how they're dealing with things. People working from home, having Zoom meetings, you know, any castings are going to be done over Zoom. You know, recce's can't be done. They'll have to, you know, go back to libraries, to, you know, data libraries to look at locations. You know, they're putting things in like, you know, we used to sometimes have multiple location and unit moves per day. And now they're sort of putting forward that you only have one location a day, so you can't allow the time and the scope to have multiple location moves. Yeah, there's lots of things, lots of, you know, makeup. Every department has to adjust. So I don't know. There's talks about sort of films starting up maybe sometime in August, but who knows? It's mutating as same as this COVID virus is. You know, 1 month you think you've got some idea of what it is and where it's going, and then the next minute it's, you know, back to the drawing board. So, you know. Yeah. Crew members, they're working from home, and you know, they're getting a lot of prep time. I'll give them that. when they do actually shoot, they better get it right and not make any mistakes, because they've had loads of prep time. They haven't got that excuse anymore. They haven't got any prep.
Okay. Okay, Vasanth, as a film fanatic, how do you think the landscape of the entertainment industry has actually shifted due to COVID?
Well, I think we are all learning a lesson in what Daniela said, patience. Because, my gosh, I'm missing, Wonder Woman, Black Widow,
Quiet Place.
Yeah, all these things that have been pushed. I mean, now that they're having Comic Con at home in San Diego, all the announcements are okay. we are pushing movies up to July next year, and we're pushing movies to April, and I'm like, oh man, that's not what I was hoping to hear. But at the same time, you have to understand, landscape has changed. Landscape has changed dramatically. Even us as fanatics, we are all people who are earning and working, and uh, even our workspace arrangements have changed. The way we do things have changed. A lot of us are working from home now because of safety precautions, and the virus, like Chris said, is mutating. So we are all hoping and waiting for some kind of vaccine, some kind of solution. But until that comes, it's better to be safe, as my as many people in the past have said, better be safe than sorry. So uh, at the same time, I do give a lot of credit to the cinemas for taking. I did go once. I was like, a lot of people are like, don't go, but I did go to one of the cinemas recently, and I was amazed at the amount of work that went into, we had to wait, but they took, during that time, they were really, taking a lot of steps to sanitize and clear the place. And when you went in, there were, allocations for seats, all the safety measures that our Sri Lankan cinemas have taken, that I am very impressed by. Some of the movies are old, yes, but you're going there because you want to. I mean, it's been 5 months now, so at some point I want to go and watch a movie in the cinema. It doesn't matter if it's like what, four,
Yeah.
5 months old. I want to get that experience. You won't get that at home. You won't get that anywhere else. The proper experiences there in front of the big screen. In terms of the overall landscape, well, things have changed. Streaming media is now coming to the forefront for now. A lot of movies and shows and all that. So this is a good opportunity for people who are busy and who haven't had time to catch up on stuff from the past, movies they missed out for before and all that, which you can catch up on. But I guess while safety is what we are all looking for, we are all patience. Again, patience is something that we are struggling with, and at some point, we're just hoping, get that vaccine
Right.
soon so we can enjoy our movies again.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so Daniela, so now Chris just mentioned something about, schedules being affected, right? So,
Yeah.
okay, so with a lot of productions being postponed or on hold due to the pandemic, how is that going to affect the schedule once things go back to normal?
All right. So I'll tell you what I can say, which has been publicly announced. So far, whatever has been moved to October and November in terms of Black Widow and Wonder Woman are still holding spots as far as we know. What's really been affected is the August films, which are, Milan, Tenant, but rest assured, they want those on the big screen. So yes, everything has been, this time next year, if we have a vaccine and things are somewhat back to normal, I'm going to be wishing I had a break.
Yeah.
Because
You're going to be busy.
between Naveed and myself and Tushan are going to be extremely busy from March up until the end of the year.
Wow.
If everything really sticks to schedule. If not, you'll see some more stuff move to 2022. I could tell you that, yeah, but not yet. I will tell you this though. The untitled sequel to Spider-Man Far From Home is now going in December 2021.
Oh, nice.
Which is amazing for the holiday. In fact, most of Sony has moved Marvel to 2021. So I'm at this time next year, I'm probably going to be begging for a break, which I hope to do. But on top of that, this has given also myself, Naveen, and Tushan some time to really think about how we want to change things marketing-wise, especially for our Geek Club fans and our moviegoer fans. What do we want to bring to the market? in terms of giveaways. You know, premieres are off the table this year until further notice, which was like my baby, but we'll get there. Like I said, after the social distancing rules somewhat disappear, we'll be getting back to premieres.
Yeah.
So, but yes, it has changed the schedule. It's quite busy next year, and I'm thinking some productions are going to shift if they can't go back to work, as Chris mentioned. A lot of productions are on hold.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. I think that was very happy news, actually.
Naveed, Shamindri's very concerned about James Bond.
It's been moved at this point. I mean, it's not that's a problem. We're all sad. What to do?
November.
Oh my goodness.
I know, but there's rumors that it might be shifted.
Oh my goodness.
Let's
Okay,
not
actually.
be funny.
Well,
Okay, let's not go there. Okay, the next question is section. Oh my goodness, patience. Okay, Naveed. So this next one is for you. So Naveed, what should we expect from cinemas when it comes to stuff like price reductions and special limited screenings?
I'm sorry, Shamini, can you repeat that?
Yes. So what should we expect from cinemas when it comes to things like price reductions and special limited screenings?
Okay, in terms of if you see all the cinemas right now, we've actually given pretty extensive price reductions. That I think that's something that we've seen across the board. I think we've spoken to. I'm not sure, Daniella, I think you can add on. We've spoken to certain of our studios. We're trying to do not just price reductions. We're trying to give certain offers, which is yet to be confirmed. More like buy one get one free, to incentivize people also to come and experience the cinema. That's something we try to do. In terms of limited screenings, I'm not really sure what you're referring to. If you can just elaborate it, I can answer the question.
Like if there were some movies that we sort of missed out on this year. So are there any plans to kind of bring them down for any like a
Disney Fox selection. We will start from, the new title. And basically the only older stuff we're really viewing at the moment is maybe, a few shows of Joker, Bloodshot, which was really literally in the theater for one day before shutdown. And you can't really go too far back. That's been tested in other markets and it didn't really work too well.
Okay.
We really want to get you guys excited for the new stuff. There's lots of it.
Definitely.
It's about
Lots
taking
of
time
new
to strategize for the future, I think that's what
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of new stuff to get excited about.
If I may, in terms of these special prices and everything, yes, we do want incentives to bring them back, bring people back to the theaters, but at a certain point for the upcoming very big blockbusters, that will be capped to a certain time.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, the next question is for Chris. Chris, how have filmmakers had to adapt to the restrictions posed by the pandemic when on set compared with your previous work? So I think you answered this a bit in your first question, but do you think you could tell us a bit more?
Well, it's a huge list. I mean, when you walk onto a film set, you're talking like minimum sort of 150, 200 people. You walk onto a stage, if it's a big stunt, if it's a big day with lots of background, you know, it could be hundreds of people. I'm guessing, you know, there's lots of things that's in place. They're going to have to stagger crew members. They're going to have to stagger call times for background. They have to stagger call times for cast, so they're not all in the makeup wagon at the same time. They're not all going through costume at the same time. A lot of actors do sort of get changed themselves anyway, and then have tweaks later, but that's going to be more of a given. There's talks about if they can put on their own makeup, then great. But if not, then they have one single person, and that person is allocated to that actor, and all the makeup and the palettes and the brushes, that is allocated just to one person. You know, they might have to put their own microphones on. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. You know, costumes, same deal. They're going to have to just do tweaks later on set. Normally, you know, when you're prepping up, or when you're blocking a scene, or you're prepping up and you're gearing up to shoot, you know, it's every kind of department doing their thing. The props are sorting their stuff out. Art department's looking at theirs. What they need to do, the grips, the sparks, everyone, camera department, the ADs, everyone is trying to do their thing at the same time. Everyone's going to have their moment. I think it will sort of, on an AD perspective, it will actually seem a lot easier for our job, because it's like we should be able to just get a limited amount of crew in. Because as an AD, you're constantly having to fight for control. And it's always like, you know, does everyone have to be on set? Do we all have to be here? Anyone who doesn't have to be here, can you just get off set and let the camera guys and let the lighting have the set, please? And then it's like, you know, can you let the art department have the set? So it's very much a kick and a scramble, but this should make that element easier. But on the flip side of that, it's the AD's job to get the shots throughout the day. So if it's slowing things down and you're not getting the shots and you're not getting the scene, then you possibly got to come back the next day if you've got that location, if you've got that time allocated to get the scene shot. So it's going to be really tough. It's going to be easier in one aspect, but a lot tougher in another aspect. And it will, no doubt, you know, the blame will fall on the producers, the ADs, and the directors. Well, not the blame, but they're the captains. They're the one that are moving the ship forward. So everyone's going to be looking for them for how to deal with this.
Yeah.
And of course, nobody knows what a COVID supervisor does yet. So they're going to be the ultimate person to say, you don't need to be on set. You know, why are you here? You don't need to be here. You know, normally you've got a couple of monitors and the whole crew are kind of watching the scenes. So if there's a makeup, especially with close-ups, if there's a tweak on makeup or costume or art department, then they all know what's going on. Now there's going to be multiple monitors, all sectioned off with, you know, limited departments. It's going to be a very strange feeling being on set, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. And again, you know, you're going to have to be wearing masks. You're going to have to be wearing, you know, possibly gloves, possibly the face screens. There's going to be hand sanitizers. There's going to be marks on the floor. It's a whole new way of working, a whole new way of life, and we'll adapt. We'll adapt. Like we always do. We get, you know, very, very minimal. A lot of the time, we get very minimal time to prep, and get very minimal time to do things. So, and we still get it done. The film crews are so adaptable. It's kind of awe-inspiring, really, to watch and be a part of. You know, changes happen right at the last second, and we just deal with it, and you just deal with it. So I suppose it's like a very well-trained army with a couple of dodgy egos.
So that would be interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very different. I'm gonna turn my light on here because I'm going into the darkness.
Okay. Okay. So Vasanth, you're next. Vasanth?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so Vasanth, so one thing that our fans have really been missing this year is things like conventions, right? San Diego Comic Con, NYCC, We've also been missing, film festivals and, like award ceremonies and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So, as an organizer of Lanka Comic Con, how do you think this year is going to affect like conventions, film festivals, and stuff like that along the way?
Well, it's already having its effect. Look at
Yes,
the
yes.
biggest event, right?
Let's
Globally,
say,
SDCC.
let's say next year. Like, how do you think will this have an effect on it next year? Do you think?
I really can't say. I mean, there will be an effect, but what that will be is hard to say right now. I mean, we still don't know the status of what is going on right now. I mean, we're all,
Yes,
like I said, we're all waiting for a vaccine. We're all waiting to see what shape or form this virus takes, because different studies and different articles are talking about a mutating vaccine of sorts. So it all depends on how the medical community is able to deal with that and how we can find a solution for it. So, like now, Daniela mentioned at one point, even next year, it all depends on how this epidemic takes form, and then releases will work accordingly. So I believe all conventions also will take that form as well. But there is a term that's going around, and it's the new normal, right?
yes,
And the new normal dictates that we need to be very careful. We have to, it's very beneficial for us to follow guidelines. These guidelines are not just there to restrict us, these guidelines are there to keep us safe. So if those guidelines are necessary for next year, then I believe conventions will also have to follow suit. I mean, none of us wants any of these events, as much as it's a fan base. None of us want any of these events to be flashpoints for further, dissipation or further dissemination of this particular epidemic. So uh, there is adjustment now. As I mentioned at the beginning, SDCC has taken a different form. Comic Con
yes,
at home, and you have all these panels that they're not what you're used to, but they're still disseminating the information that you require. I mean, as fans, as what we want to consume, we're still getting all of that. We're getting the information on what they have planned, what Paramount has for Star Trek, what DC has a big panel that's coming up. The Marvel will have their own thing, so they'll give us the information we need. It's just uh, being there physically is where the restrictions going to be. So I think one of the biggest hits will be for cosplayers, particularly people who are actual fans of each of these franchises, who want to, show their love for the franchise or love for those particular characters. Uh, I noticed there was one article that went on where they showed these guys have become creative, and they've started cosplaying at locations that are actually in line with the characters they represent. So people are adjusting. So even for us here at Lanka Comic Con, we're looking at something. I can't mention anything yet because we're still working out the final details, but we have something planned, and we'll have to see how next year goes. Again, it's too early. Even though it's 4 months in, it's too early to say anything about what this epidemic is, because we've never faced anything on this scale.
but yes. Thanks.
True.
Okay, Daniela, you're up next. Okay, Daniela, do you think there will be any permanent changes to the movie experiences after this year?
I don't like to say that this is permanent. It's a pandemic. They do come and go. How long it will last will determine, how the new normal will have to be, how much it'll have to be in place. But no, I personally, this is my personal thought, think that producers and studios have a responsibility to all our theaters to make sure that we have content that they've spent millions of dollars to produce for the big screen. I feel they have a responsibility to wait for that to happen. I don't think it will permanently change, but I think the new normal will be in place for a while. And we're just going to have to get creative. We're going to have to be careful. And we're just going to have to be patient.
Yes.
So, but it gives us a chance. But it does give us a chance to also, you know, come together as exhibitors and distributors and find out how we can make this better for you once you do come back. So
yeah,
that's how I've been spending my time. And then, you know, when this has started, we're still going to give away merchandise.
Okay.
It's going to be more creative on how we do it. Right, Naveed?
Okay. Yep.
Okay, Naveed. Okay, so Naveed, like Vasanth was saying, more and more movies are opting for digital releases this year. So how do you think this will change the landscape of the cinema industry?
Tricky question, but I'll go by what Daniela says. Yes, there are certain studios like Paramount, like where they've released SpongeBob on digital services and things. But there are directors like Christopher Nolan, like if you take titles like Tenet, I don't think they would want to lose that traction because certain films are always made for the big screen.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe, I mean, I'm not being biased as a cinema operator, but I firmly believe that cinema is resilient. Cinema has been through everything throughout world wars and whatever it takes. We just keep giving better technology, better experiences to customers. And there is a lot that's going to come to Sri Lanka itself in the coming years. I can't disclose exactly what it is, but there is things to be excited for. And I think we like in every part of this industry, we have to be creative. We have to keep pushing boundaries and keep guys like you interested, you know, to keep coming back. And I think studios do have a responsibility to all theaters worldwide, because that's where they've made most of their money. That's where we've supported them for many years prior to digital services or anything being in existence. And I do not think that will change. There will be changes in industries, which is inevitable. There will be certain content which eventually might actually work better on stream services, but then there's content that will always work better on the big screen. So I think this is a gradual process. Change is good. I think we should welcome that, and just be ready. And to be honest, I'm not really too fussed about it. I'm not too worried. I think studios know their responsibility, and we need each other, you know, at all times.
At the end of the day, yes.
Yeah.
I think Naveed and I are just bored.
It's driving me crazy.
We're always in the planning stage at this time of the year and getting ready to do things. So it's a little boring for us now.
Just to add to one more thing, Vasanth, I think to your first question, I think the pandemic, because I've been having a few discussions with local producers, local directors. It's a good time for them also to push their boundaries a little bit more. Chris has a lot of knowledge on this as well. I know he's been trying to do a lot for the local industry. I think you can elaborate a lot more on that, Chris. I'm not going to go into that. But this is a good time for our local talent, like in other markets, like if you see India, China, where there's local talent to sustain their industry as of now. Yeah. And I think it's a good wake-up call for cinemas and, to provide these guys with opportunities for maybe little film festivals, like you said, Vasanth, where those are things that we'll also evaluate because there is a lot of talent here. But unfortunately, there is no, like in most things in Sri Lanka, there is no proper infrastructure. And I think we are looking at working with these guys to develop a certain infrastructure so that they also have a platform to grow. I think that's another way of looking at the pandemic. So forcing us to do things that we're not usually not doing for the betterment of the industry.
Very valid point. Very valid point.
Actually, I'd like to, since you brought that up, because we're working with a lot of upcoming independent filmmakers, high school junkies. There's Film Dragon Productions. There's a bunch of them who've used this time actually on YouTube and platforms like that to put out a lot of stuff. It's interesting that, like you said, they are being pushed. They're being pushed to go beyond what they would be or where they would be otherwise. And it's nice to see them in Sri Lanka coming forward. And I guess if we have now, as Comic Con is just a platform to be able to take them to a certain market, but then I think it's the film distributors, it's cinemas. I guess at some point, if we can come to a place where we can offer them a platform as well. I think there's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of talent in Sri Lanka. It's amazing. I mean, I've seen some of these young people with almost no budget. They've come up with some amazing stuff. And Sri Lanka, I believe, in maybe 4 or 5 years, could be a viable and strong film industry on its own.
Sure, I agree. And this is actually fun you said that, because today we came from a meeting discussing this very topic. So I think we should have a discussion on this at a later time, because it's our responsibility to support the Sri Lankan network also, and produce, and give them the platform to grow. And that's something we as Scope are always going to look at doing. It's about taking Sri Lanka global.
Good.
I'll obviously try and help where I can. We're in discussion with Naveed before this whole thing. We took a meeting and discussed the sort of film festival idea of encouraging young talent to start getting out there and making or writing, making, producing, just sort of delving into it and not being afraid. It's that encouragement that's needed here as well, obviously, as well as finance that comes with it. But you don't need a great deal of money as long as it's a good story and you've got an iPhone, and there's ways of filmmaking. You've seen a lot of videos that have come out from this whole crisis of people being stuck at home, just filming stuff in their house, and some of the videos are incredible. It just goes to show it can be done, but it's just that encouragement and that platform that's needed.
Chris, how many TikTok videos have you produced during this pandemic?
Sorry?
How many TikTok videos?
I'm too old for TikTok. I don't trust TikTok either.
I'm joking.
I have been doing photo shoots and a lot of writing. I've started grabbing. I've written little short films. I've started shooting stuff, and I'm building my own kit as well. There's a crane back here that you can see. I've built my own camera dolly out of skate.
Wow.
I thought that was a staircase.
I've been busy. This time, you've got to take advantage of it. It doesn't come around that often where you don't have to feel guilty about, being stuck at home, and I'm with the family, so I'll be fine with it.
Yep.
But yeah, I think there is a lot of talent here. There's a lot of talent. I also think, I don't want to get political, but I also think the way that Sri Lanka's dealt with this crisis, I feel a lot safer here than I do back in the UK. That's for sure.
For sure.
Sri Lanka,
I second that for Greece. I'm very happy I'm here.
Okay.
I'm glad I didn't go home in March. I'm glad I didn't visit New York. I would have been stuck.
Oh man, could you imagine?
Yeah.
No, I really can't.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if always political discussion.
Okay, so I only have like 3 more questions. So Chris, this one is for you. Okay, on all of your previous sets, have you ever faced anything like this before? Have you ever been in a similar situation?
No, absolutely not.
Definitely not.
Nothing's. I mean, even when a cast member dies over the weekend, you're there on Monday morning. You have a minute's silence and cameras rolling. nothing stops them.
Oh boy.
This has been something that, you know, which is why we got 2 children, and we've tried to make this whole experience as much fun and enjoyable as possible, you know.
You have.
Yeah. It's something that it's history. 2020 will go down in history as a you know.
Oh my God, yes.
Changing year. It's just stopped everyone in their tracks. There's nothing that comes close to this. Like I said, you know, I was on a project when the London bombings of what was it? I can't remember the date of it now. But there were the London bombings, and again, you heard about the bombings, but most productions weren't in London. They were just on the outskirts of studios. You know, we didn't stop filming. You know? There's nothing that stops a film, but this happened. So this is world. It is world stopping. It stopped every industry, and so it should, and it's only a responsible thing to do. It was the July the 7th bombings, by the way.
Shamit, if I may,
Okay,
if I may, I would like to ask Chris one question, going back to what you asked him earlier. Chris, in terms of movies that have already been shot, how does production get affected for those, whether they're in post-production or, you know, with editing and all of that? How does that work in this current scenario?
Well, they've got nothing to edit. They've got nothing to do post-production with. You know, they need the footage, they need the angles, they need the camera stuff. I mean, everything's going to be done remotely. I mean, I know loads of people that are working on film, but they're just doing it. They're just doing it from home. It's all done over the internet, Zoom meetings and that sort of thing. So, you know, again, there's going to be guidelines for every single department to have to stick to, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. It really will, because I mean, I can't go into too much detail, but it'll be interesting. You know, it's a risk, I suppose it is, which is why insurance companies won't underwrite it, I guess. And everyone's got to sign before starting back up again. Everyone's going to sign a health declaration form. You've all got to have tests. You know, there's people that. Certain key people in crew that have to have, you know, COVID certificates to be able to deal with COVID and recognize the signals. But it's also, you know, it's that, I don't know if it's the stigma, but it's also down to the responsibility of the individual person. If they suddenly feel under the weather, you know, you're freelance. You know, if you wake up in the morning or you're ill throughout the night, you just take whatever you need to take so you can get up in the morning and go to work. It's not a job where, you know, if you're a key member of the crew, and we all love our job, you know, we don't ring up in the morning, I'm feeling a bit ill today. You can't just ring someone up and say, you know, well, don't worry, we'll get it covered. Can to a certain extent, but you know, it's such a fine art on every level, every department, and you just feel so bad if you're not there. You know, again, if you're in the positions, but it's right from the, you know, the running positions right to the top. You don't want to miss. You don't want to not be there. You know, for various reasons. You know. Plus, if the person that comes in does a better job than you, then it's like, and crews are very proud. They're very proud. So it's down to the responsibility of them admitting that they're not feeling well. They're admitting that they've got a temperature. You know, they have to be upfront and say, you know, you need a test quick. So it's see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Vasanth, there's one more question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is technically like for both of us, but basically, as fans and moviegoers, what can we do to support the industry to keep things running? Besides going to movies.
First on the list is avoid piracy as much as possible. I mean, avoid piracy, period. That's critical. Even in these difficult times, you know, support the studios. They put a lot of effort. They put a lot of, there's a lot of cost. There's a lot of things that are involved. people always think, oh, well, they've got millions of dollars, they're spending it on marketing. Well, all of that ultimately is what gives you the movie that you enjoy. And piracy is just not a thing anymore. Media is so much more accessible. Cinemas are so much more advanced. Tickets aren't overpriced per se, and we get
And it's
everything.
like
I mean, hmm?
it's like Naveed said, nothing beats the cinema experience at the
Experience.
end of the day.
See, and also you have to give prop to Daniela and team for pushing to get these movies even ahead of release schedule. The
Yes.
premieres we've had and all of that. I mean, if you guys have made that effort for a country and a market like Sri Lanka, that's relatively. I mean, looking at all the other markets around the world, we're small, but you guys have made that effort, and that's something that props to you guys. We really appreciate that. So as fans, first of all, avoid piracy. Second, where you can and where you have the possibility, support your local cinema. Support these. This is because any industry, any business is going to be as good as its customers, and if the customers are there to support them, they'll be there to take it forward. Like Naveed said, they're working on so many technologies year in year to try and improve that experience. And every year we see that experience. I mean, we had Atmos, we had this, we had that. Every the seating keeps getting better and better, so that you have less back problems. And the lighting, the screens are now better. They're brighter. I mean, these are things that were slow back in the 90s, gradually picked up in the 2000s. But in this last 5 years, as a cinema viewer, as a cinema goer, I've seen a rapid, enhancement of all of these facilities, and that's something that only happens because we are there to go and watch these movies. We're there to support the cinema, and finally, I think it all comes down to us. We have to adjust. We just have to adjust to whatever this current scenario is. But I believe at the end of it all, the human spirit is resilient. Cinemas are resilient. So as viewers, we just have to step in and take the risk at some point. I mean, be careful, be safe, make sure that you're doing everything right. But at some point, okay, when things seem to be clear, go for it. I went. It was a lot of people weren't happy. I went and I was very happy. I have to say this. I was very happy with the way cinemas, and I felt very secure with the way cinemas are working locally to sanitize and keep, ensure that all of us patrons are, walking in safe and secure. And I would say if you can go and watch a movie or two. I missed 1917 when it first came out. I was able to catch up with it. I wanted to watch a bunch of other movies. Bloodshot, I'm definitely looking forward to going and watching it at some point. But yeah, if these are movies that you can still go and enjoy, and do your part. Apart from that, let's see, as everybody here said, let's see what tomorrow brings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you, Naveed.
My children as well as myself, the whole family are missing the sort of cinema experience. It's, one of my favorite moments as a dad is taking the children to the cinema, and the whole, when they're sat there and eating the popcorn, and when the music starts and the curtain goes back, to see the look on their faces, it's just favorite moments in life.
Yeah.
Every time.
I miss it. I miss Sri Lanka. I miss planning. I miss being there. I miss watching everyone's face.
I miss my mom asking me questions about what's going on in the movie.
Yeah, there's not a great deal to tell at the moment. Stuff has been made, though. Stuff has been made. There's still, they're getting plenty of time. Edit with going back to your question, with the editing and the visual effects. They're getting a lot of time to hone it and make it look amazing. So when Eternals comes out and Morbius comes out and all these films come out, they're going to look incredible. They're going to be brilliant. I mean, hopefully going to get some amazing screenplays, because writers have had so much time. Then there's no pressure.
That's quite true. That's quite true.
I'm hoping that every script is going to be about COVID. Let's hope not. There's going to be some amazing screenplays that are going to come out.
Oh my God, the movie is about COVID.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure there's going to be quite a few movies.
There's definitely going to be a couple.
Of course. I think
Oh my God.
I think Netflix have already said, don't make too many COVID. Don't come to us with too many COVID scripts.
Yeah. But what you said, I think that this is also a good time because there's been so much of content. There's been so many, all the franchises have been pushing out so many awesome movies. But at the same time, this also gives us a rest period, maybe. I mean, I don't know if I'm wrong here, but this kind of gives us a bit of a break to, okay, let's, get create the increase in anticipation, because like Daniela and Naveed were saying, next year is going to be, oh boy, it's going to be like
next year. I'm gonna miss like just being able to sit here. I'll be on a plane again.
We may actually not have off season. Cinema is cyclic, right? There's going to be content every month.
Yes.
Yeah. It looks like we don't have an off season next year.
And
God
we should
willing.
have next year, same time.
Yeah, but
I'm
even
actually
from
excited. I'm
you're
excited for this.
Yes, but even as Chris saying, from a screenwriter's point of view, this will give them more time to expound on the material, expand on stuff. Maybe the things they had planned for Marvel, for instance, like they have their whole 20-year plan, or for the next 10 years. But here they may now have the time to look. Hey, we didn't see this, we didn't see that. Maybe we can jump into or introduce this particular character, which they've been doing now with the recent announcements. There are a lot of things that, or even the last 10 years in the Infinity Saga, there were a lot of things that they talked about, but then enhanced and adapted as time went on. Diversity, for instance. And I think this gives them a time, all these studios and the writers and the various teams behind the movies to like, what can we do to, enhance things that reflect what today is. And storytelling, a lot of opportunity.
Well, I could tell you this, if I may add to that. Outside of the DC and Marvel world, Naveed and myself and Dushan are going to be bringing in, eye-opening subjects next year. Things that you would normally see, which we believe that need to be on the big screen. It's outside of, Marvel sequels and Aquaman 2. We're talking about really good stories with really, somewhat touchy subjects for Sri Lanka. But if it gets put through, we're going to bring it. Right, Naveed?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
For sure.
Oh, question. Are we talking about Call Me By Your Name, the sequel?
I'm sorry?
Are you talking about Call Me By Your Name, the sequel?
I don't know.
Oh my God, you smiled.
That's a Naveed question, not mine. That's not mine. That's Naveed.
I don't have information on, so.
Yeah, we don't have everything yet. We have
let's just wait to see what comes.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's something we would appreciate. I mean, as viewers, because it's not only about superhero movies. It's not only about action adventures. It's about subjects that
the
need
story
to be brought to light. The stories that need to be brought to life, and a lot of recent festival winners and Academy Award winners are movies that are very touchy and are very sensitive. But this is the medium. This is the medium, I believe, that can be very effective to bring bridges together and break the divide. So we would
these are the stories that need to be told. Yeah.
Now all you have to do is show up for those.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
we'll be there.
That's definitely me and Vasanth will obviously be there.
These are things like we've been trying to work on, because initially Sri Lanka was just about Marvel, DC, and Jurassic Park. But today it's expanded, and we've tried new content, and I'm quite thankful that it's worked. It's motivating to actually talk to studios and push them to give us these releases, because in the past it was a big challenge. And I think it's just going to get better and better. This pandemic is just a break for all of us to think what we want, our strategies, what to expect, and I think next year is going to be something to look forward to. I mean,
Awesome.
yeah. In terms of content, experiences, everything. That's all I can say at the moment.
Actually, the next 2 years is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But that's all. I have to stop it at that.
But also,
Okay, I would ask.
it gives Sri Lanka the chance to kind of get ahead of the curve as well, because I think Sri Lanka's got a handle on this better than a lot of other countries. So if they're putting the guidelines, I don't know, I haven't spoken to the directors and producers here and filmmakers here, if they're putting guidelines in place, they could be shooting before a lot of countries. So it means the content they're going to be able to be able to get out there and sell to the whole world. So Sri Lanka should really take advantage of this being ahead of everyone else. I hope they do. I really do.
Actually, that brings a small question. Sorry to butt in, but if based on what if we have the guidelines in place for film for locations and all that, does that make us a more viable location in times like this?
I've been trying for quite a while to get films to come here. I was approached by the latest Fast and Furious, and I put forward Sri Lanka as a location.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we had everything. They needed jungles, they needed roads through a jungle, and they needed mountains and a road. So we kind of had that, lots and lots. And I sent them all the photos and everything, and they thought it was great. But the only problem is there's no, there was no incentive. There's no tax incentive. There's no rebates.
Oh, okay.
When you compare other countries in the region, then they said that they could match, but it's got to be put through government. It's got to be official.
Right.
No one's going to bring. It was just the action unit. It wasn't the main part. So it would have been. So when you watch the film, any jungle, then that could have been. It might have been shot here. But again, there's a lot of official legalities that have to be put in place before a production company or a large studio will come here and film.
Oh, okay.
Vasanth, just to add on to what Chris said, these things are being worked on. We're trying. It's not easy in Sri Lanka because everything's a challenge.
Yes.
But we're not going to give up. We're quite adamant that Sri Lanka is a hotspot. I mean, we used to have films shot here.
Oh, yes.
Hollywood and Bollywood and things. But yeah, what Chris said is true. The incentives are not available at the moment, I think, given the country's economic situation. But one positive to take out of this is we've been told that once things get better, that they will definitely look at evaluating these options. So
nice.
Something to look forward to. Yeah.
Awesome.
And once the airport,
I want to thank all our movie goers for being very patient and for always supporting us in the last 3 years with all of the things that we are trying to do for you, new and you accepting it the way you have. It's really given us an incentive to work so much harder to make you all so happy when you come out. So thank you.
Aww.
I don't know how to follow that.
Shamidri is completely stunned.
Shamidri
Right
smiling. Aww. I kind of don't want the panel to end.
Aww.
Well, we all have our lives to get back to. I have my cat.
I know. But basically, that's a wrap on the film panel. And once again, I just want to say thank you to all of you for taking time off your schedules and being here. This was awesome. Thank you for chatting with me about my favorite subject, film. And thank you so much for Daniela, thank you so much for the sneak peeks and the teasers and the, getting me very, very excited for next year. And the lesson in
Welcome.
patience. Thank you so much for the valuable insight, Chris. And Vasanth, of course, thank you for fangirling with me. And Naveen, thank you very much for teaching us about the wonders of cinema experience. Nothing can beat that, of course. Now, before we log out, I have one. Now, of course, we all know that so entertainment, especially at a time like this, is very important to all of us. So once again, thank you. And I'd like to say thanks to our sponsor, Akpa Tea. So thank you so much, guys. And thank you to all our viewers. So hi, everyone.
Yeah, hi everyone.
This was,
Hi,
wait, no,
everyone.
not bye. I'd say cut.
Okay.
Bye.
Cut.
Okay.
Okay.
See you. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
It's a pleasure.